Have you ever trusted someone so deeply, only to watch that trust shatter in front of millions live? Imagine scrolling through your feed, seeing the person you love kissing someone else, not in secret, not in shame, but in full view of the world. Cameras flashing, hashtags exploding, hearts breaking in real time. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about what happens when infidelity becomes entertainment. This is Maura and Pete's story. And if you've ever been the last to know, you're not alone. Like, share and subscribe to Lies Unveiled for real stories of truth behind the headlines. They were the couple people rooted for. Maura Higgins, fierce, funny, a firecracker from Love Island. Pete Wicks, the tattooed heartthrob from The Only Way is Essex, with a smirk that made tabloid editors swoon. They weren't supposed to fall in love. Just friends, they said. Best friends. The kind that tease each other in interviews, posted cheeky photos on Instagram, and insisted we're just mates. But fans saw more. The lingering glances, the hand brushes, the inside jokes. They wanted it to be real, and maybe, deep down, so did Maura. It was subtle at first. Matching outfits at Halloween, a surprise birthday shout-out, and then, finally, the soft launch, a cozy photo from a weekend getaway, captioned only with a heart. No official announcement, no big reveal, just that one emoji, enough to send the internet into a frenzy. From that moment on, Maura and Pete were no longer just personalities. They were a brand, a fantasy, a love story fans projected themselves into. But behind the filters and flirty banter, something was already breaking. She started noticing things. Late-night DMs from unknown girls, cryptic posts, a sense that he was always online, but not always present. And then came Olivia, Pete's longtime friend. Gorgeous, glamorous, with a smile that didn't quite reach Maura's anymore. Still, Maura trusted him, or tried to. She told herself not to be one of those jealous girlfriends. But the truth has a way of finding its way to the surface. And when it does, it doesn't knock. It kicks the damn door in. The kiss wasn't just a rumor. It was caught on camera. Someone at the party had been recording a birthday toast. In the background, just behind the clinking glasses and drunken laughter, you could see them. Pete and Maura, her hand resting on his chest, his lips pressed to hers. A brief moment, but damning enough. I didn't even see it first. A colleague showed me. "Hey, isn't that your husband?" she asked, holding up her phone with a half smile, expecting me to laugh. I didn't. The video had already racked up thousands of views on TikTok under the hashtag office affair. I felt the blood drain from my face. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a betrayal made viral. My colleagues saw it. My friends saw it. Even my mother, who barely knows how to text, called to ask if I was okay. I wasn't. I confronted Pete that night. He didn't even deny it, just sighed, rubbed his temples, and said, "It didn't mean anything." But the thing is, it did. Maybe the kiss itself was brief. Maybe it was a drunken mistake. But the fallout, the humiliation, that stayed. That spread. You never realize how much your dignity is tied to someone else's actions until they rip it out from under you. He begged for forgiveness. Said it was a lapse in judgment. But judgment doesn't accidentally lean in. It doesn't accidentally kiss someone back. It doesn't linger. I slept in the guest room that night. And for the first time in our marriage, I locked the door. Have you ever had the world witness your heartbreak before you even process it yourself? Comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Lies Unveiled if this story hits too close to home. Maura didn't respond publicly at first. There were no tweets, no shady Instagram stories, no cryptic quotes about loyalty. But silence speaks volumes, and the fans noticed. She stopped liking his posts, stopped tagging him in hers, unfollowed him quietly. The breakup rumors started to spread, fed by gossip accounts and internet sleuths. Pete stayed silent too. No apology, no clarification, no accountability. And maybe that was the worst part, because when your love story is public, the silence doesn't protect you. It just makes everyone else fill in the blanks. They speculated. They joked. Memes exploded. Headlines call it a scandal. But to Maura, it wasn't just PR. It was the unraveling of something real. She had loved him, trusted him, believed in the version of them she thought they were building. Now, all she had were screenshots and silence and a million strangers commenting on her heartbreak. And in that chaos, Maura made a choice. She wouldn't let betrayal define her. She would take the story back. Before the confrontation, before the undeniable proof, there were moments, tiny fractures in daily life that whispered louder than any shout. The way he turned his phone away when she entered the room. The sudden change in cologne. The text typed and deleted. The pauses in his speech, as if editing a truth. She remembered the first night he didn't call when running late. The second time he missed their son's bedtime story. The excuse that felt too rehearsed. And she remembered what it felt like to pretend she didn't notice. Denial isn't just a lack of proof. It's a survival mechanism. One that lets you delay heartbreak in exchange for a few more nights of hope. But hope, when misplaced, can be more dangerous than truth. Days passed, but the buzz didn't die. Pete issued a statement. Vague apologies, the kind that say a lot without meaning anything. We were both under a lot of pressure. I take full responsibility. I wish Maura nothing but the best. Olivia? Silent. And Maura? She posted a black square. No caption. No comments. But offline, she was unraveling. It wasn't just the kiss. It was everything it represented. The lie behind the filtered smiles. The betrayal masked by public affection. The way he let her take the fall. Alone. Friends told her to stay silent. Let it blow over. PR people advised a break. Step away from the spotlight. But Maura had other plans. She booked a ticket. Deleted every trace of Pete. And wrote, not for headlines. Not for clout. But for herself. And slowly, painfully, fiercely, she began to reclaim her story. She landed in Dublin on a gray morning. No press, no cameras, just Maura, a suitcase, and the weight of 1,000 opinions. Her childhood home hadn't changed much. Same creaky floorboards, same smell of rain-soaked turf. Same mother waiting at the door with open arms and tearful silence. I didn't raise you to break, her mom whispered that night, tucking a blanket around her like she was 6 again. I raised you to bend, and then come back swinging. Maura didn't sleep. She wrote pages and pages. Anger, sadness, shame. Not about Pete, not directly, but about love, about performance, about being a woman in a world that loves your smile more than your scars. It wasn't a revenge post. It wasn't a clapback. It was a story, hers. She titled it, The Things We Let Slide. And when she posted it, not on a tabloid site, not on a gossip blog, but on her own terms, something shifted. People didn't laugh. They listened. Messages flooded in. Not pity, not outrage. Resonance. I went through the same. Thank you for saying what I couldn't. You made me feel seen. In losing Pete, Maura had found something bigger. Her voice. And for the first time in weeks, she felt whole again. Healing doesn't begin when the noise dies down. It begins when you can finally hear yourself think again. For Maura, that moment came not in a therapist's office or during a yoga retreat, but on a park bench in the middle of Dublin. A cold spring morning. Coffee in hand. Sunglasses hiding swollen eyes. She was watching a mother chase after a toddler. The child tripped, fell, wailed. The mother rushed in, scooped him up, kissed his scraped knee. Simple, unfiltered love. It made her cry, not because she wanted a child, or even because she felt particularly maternal that day, but because it reminded her what it meant to be chosen, to be safe. Pete never made her feel that way. Not really. Not when the cameras were off. Not when no one was watching. She started to write again. At first, it was journaling. Messy, raw, scribbles of memory and fury and heartbreak. But over time, her words sharpened. Her story found shape. She wasn't just telling what happened. She was understanding why it shattered her. Because when you're a public figure, it's easy to confuse validation for love, applause for affection, But Maura realized she'd been performing a relationship more than living one. Pete wasn't her safe place. He was her stage partner. And Olivia? She was just the plot twist. The real betrayal had happened long before the kiss. In the quiet moments, the withheld truths, the lack of presence. The man who kissed Olivia that night wasn't someone Maura lost. He was someone she never truly had. And that truth? It hurt, but it also freed her. To understand betrayal, one must peer into its logic, however flawed. Milton didn't wake up one day and decide to ruin a family. He drifted, step by step, boundary by blurred boundary. Perhaps it started as flattery, the attention from someone younger, someone who looked at him like he was the center of a story. Maybe he felt invisible at home. Maybe he resented the routine, the responsibility. Or maybe he was just weak. The danger lies not just in lust, but in entitlement. The belief that one deserves to feel special, even if it comes at someone else's expense. In Lydia, he found validation. In Maura, he had commitment. And instead of choosing, he tried to hold both. But betrayal is always a transaction, and someone always pays more. When Maura returned, she wasn't the same woman who had left. Gone were the passive posts, the quiet compliance, the attempts to fix a narrative she didn't break. In her place stood someone sharper, stronger, a woman no longer asking for peace, but demanding truth. Her first post back wasn't what people expected. No soft lighting, no cryptic quotes, just a video. Her makeup-free, sitting by a window, speaking directly into the camera. You watch my heartbreak go viral. Now watch me heal. The clip blew up. Millions of views. Not for drama, but for clarity. Not for revenge, but resilience. In the weeks that followed, Maura told her story on her terms. Not through tabloid exclusives, but honest conversations. A podcast episode here. A vulnerable Instagram live there. She didn't name names. She didn't need to, because her power wasn't in exposure. It was in evolution. Pete tried to spin his version, of course. Claimed they were already drifting. That the kiss wasn't what it looked like. But no one was listening anymore, because Maura wasn't a victim in their eyes. She was a voice, a reckoning. And the best part? She didn't just move on. She moved up. Brand deals, sure, but only ones aligned with her truth. Mental health campaigns, women's empowerment retreats. She became more than a reality star. She became a real woman people could root for. And when someone asked her months later if she forgave Pete, she smiled. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone back in. It's about letting yourself move forward. There's a moment in every heartbreak when the world finally quiets. No more viral hashtags. No more DMs from strangers trying to console or pry. Just a silence. And yourself. That's where Maura found her true strength. It wasn't on a red carpet or inside a perfectly filtered selfie. It was at 3 a.m., alone in her kitchen, crying into cold tea and realizing she survived. Not because she pretended to be okay, but because she stopped pretending. This wasn't just a cheating scandal. It was a shedding, a rebirth. Maura had spent years performing, smiling on cue, laughing off rumors, trying to be lovable, unproblematic, palatable. But heartbreak doesn't ask for your PR plan. It cracks you open and invites you to rebuild. So she did, on her terms, with messiness, with anger, with grace. And people responded, not to perfection, but to truth. She started mentoring young women, not about fame, but about boundaries, about choosing themselves first, about not making room for people who treat their presence like a privilege. She became someone others looked to, not because she never fell, but because she got up again and again with fire in her chest and clarity in her eyes. Pete faded, as people like him do. A few more appearances, a reality dating show no one watched, and eventually, a headline no one clicked. But Maura, she didn't just stay standing. She soared. Because sometimes the most powerful comeback isn't a clapback. It's the quiet, unstoppable decision to rise. In the end, it wasn't the affair that broke her. It was a realization that she had been loving someone who stopped choosing her a long time ago. It was the silent dinners, the distracted glances, the lies dressed as apologies. It was a loneliness, the kind that haunts even when you're not alone. But pain, when faced honestly, has a strange gift. It carves clarity out of chaos. It burns away the illusion. And what remains is truth. Maura learned that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to remember without breaking. It means letting go, not of the past, but of the version of herself who kept waiting for someone to come back who had already left. She stopped asking why he did it. She started asking what she deserved. And you, if you're still listening, still holding your own heartbreak, know this: you are not what they did to you. You are what you choose to do next. So stand up, speak your truth, and if your voice trembles, speak anyway. Because survival isn't just getting through, it's rising, with scars, with wisdom, and with your own damn name intact. This was her story, but it could be any of ours. Subscribe to Lies Unveiled for more real stories. The ones we live, the ones we hide, and the ones that help us